in the height of the 2020 protests around police violence in America, which erupted onto the global scene, Black Lives Matter, the organisation, received tens of millions of pounds in funding. And that's just the organisation Black Lives Matter. There was lots of different miniature groups and other organisations around race that received hundreds of millions. It's actually quite remarkable how many donations, many corporate institutions actually to the tunes of tens of millions also funded various different race-related organisations. And therefore Black Lives Matter was very much the centrepiece of it. And now, a couple of years down the line, there are huge questions arising about where that money is going, who is overseeing it, and what is really being spent on. I mean, you would think that many of the same people that advocate for kind of reparations and kinds of funding that would help communities deal with crime and education would really want to be funneling this money in order to transform the lives of disadvantaged communities, particularly that predominate amongst ethnic minorities. But that's not necessarily what we're seeing here. And I think it's been quite striking. The co-founder, as you mentioned in the introduction, was criticised very recently, Patrice Cullors, for having a property portfolio of $3.2 million. And this is a group that frames itself as anti-capitalist, an organisation that opposes the concentration of wealth and economic inequality, are now essentially being subject to similar questions about how they're spending their money. And this is obviously in relation to Black Lives Matter America, but actually similar questions has also been raised from Black Lives Matter UK. They received more than £1.2 million in funding in 2020, and they've used it to kind of distribute it to various different smaller race-related groups. But I think that kind of money for most charities is really quite transformative, and it so far hasn't really translated into improving the material lives significantly of Black people.
Yeah, which I'm personally not surprised about. But this, I'm just reading this, and it really does not look good for them, because according to the Daily Mail, the most recent tax filing for the charity from 2019 gives an address that doesn't even exist. The directors, the two remaining directors of Black Lives Matter, they haven't been able to assist with, these investigations. One has even distanced themselves from BLM, and they're yet to file a 2020 return. So, this doesn't look good at all, does it?
Well, what's really frustrating as well is that, in the climate where anyone that veers away from a particular orthodoxy when it comes to race is often framed as racist. And so I'm sure that many auditors and journalists who otherwise would be looking into this and really wanting to investigate quite significantly may well be scared to do so because they are fearful of being called racist. People who said, they support Black lives, but they don't necessarily think Britain or America is fundamentally structurally racist, and that racism all pervades in every single interaction between Black and white people, were framed as racist. And so actually looking into an organisation which placed itself at the centrepiece of such a huge debate in 2020, many people unfortunately may well be scared to do so. But actually when we're talking about millions and millions of pounds, which could really transform the lives of the most disadvantaged people in society, I think we all have a moral obligation to ask serious questions about these organisations that are often using the well-meaning nature of people to want to do good, but not actually translating that into the real benefit to communities.